Adam wasn't the first man. The flood wasn't worldwide. Moses never crossed the Red Sea. The Hebrew scriptures don't teach the later Christian doctrine of hell. Christ isn't a last name. Easter is in your King James Bible and it shouldn't be. The forbidden fruit was never called an apple. The Bible never says there were three wise men. Mary Magdalene was never called a prostitute. Jonah was swallowed by a great fish, not necessarily a whale. Lucifer isn't Satan's original name. Genesis never calls the serpent Satan. It says Nakash. The Bible doesn't say money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is. The Bible never says God helps those who help themselves. It never says cleanliness is next to godliness. Torah doesn't mean bad old law. It means instruction. Grace didn't begin in the New Testament. Noah found grace, Moses knew grace, and David knew grace. The biblical tithe was agricultural produce and livestock, not a 10% paycheck. The Bible never says the soul can't die. Ezekiel chapter 18 verse 4 says the opposite. The Sabbath was never changed to Sunday by a command from Yahuwah. Yahusha never said he came to abolish the Torah. Peter's vision in Acts 10 wasn't about making pigs clean. Peter tells you what the vision meant in verse 28. Paul didn't spend his life teaching people to ignore Moses. Repentance isn't just feeling sorry, it means turning. Faith isn't just mentally agreeing that Yahusha exists, because demons believe too. Cain didn't create a problem for Genesis. The assumption that Adam and Eve were the only humans did. Babel doesn't say every human language on earth began there. Genesis 10 already has nations divided by their languages. Bloodline never guaranteed covenant standing. The prophets proved that over and over. Sacrifice never gave people permission to ignore justice. The prophets proved that too. Judge not doesn't mean never identify wrongdoing. Where two or three are gathered isn't a church attendance verse. Touch not my anointed isn't a pastor immunity verse. And questioning a teacher isn't rebellion. And once you start seeing that, you start seeing something bigger. Worship isn't just singing songs in a building. Prophecy isn't just some fortune telling. The prophets were covenant prosecutors. The temple wasn't just a building. It was a pattern of access, boundary, holiness, and presence. Eden wasn't just a garden story. It was sacred space, command, breach, exile, and guarded access. Revelation isn't a newspaper code for modern politics. It's saturated with Torah, temple, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, Babylon, Eden, and covenant judgment. So maybe the Bible isn't nearly as confusing as people have made it. Maybe we were handed conclusions before we were ever taught how to read. Maybe the text was never the problem. Maybe the reading was.